I've been going over my electoral map I have for Donald Trump versus Joe Biden, where I said I've had about 6 states that I consider to be pure toss-up states, and then a few states I had as lean and likely. And I talked about North Carolina a little bit and Virginia here and there, but the state of New Hampshire is a state that I've talked about a little bit, but I've pretty much left kind of on its own because I said I believed it was a lean Biden state and that I wouldn't really talk about it too much as a possibility for Trump winning it until I saw some polls come out or a shift that indicated that Trump would be in play in New Hampshire. Well, we might have gotten that today. A new poll, which I'm reading the WMUR article, which is the news network in New Hampshire, from St. Anselm College, did a poll of 1,700 registered voters, and this was the first 2 days after the presidential debate. In the poll, it found 47% of people supported Donald Trump, 42% supported Joe Biden, 4% said they supported Robert F. Kennedy, and there was a sampling error of 2.3%. So, just doing the math, Trump is up 2 points over Biden in New Hampshire in this poll. I think both sides are kind of overreacting to this poll a little bit, but I'm first going to go over the poll, what it means, and then I'll go over my own personal opinion about this. For one, the executive director of the New Hampshire Institute of Politics, Neil Vec, said that he believes it is conclusive that New Hampshire will be a really competitive state in the presidential election. And remind you, I'm going to be getting to this later as well, this is a state that voted for Joe Biden by 7 points last time. And it is now up Trump by 2 points in a recent poll. In their past poll they did in December had Biden up 10 points over Trump. So this is certainly a very, very big shift. So just going into the polling average that Real Clear Politics has right now, again, hasn't been a lot of polls in a while. The last one was from UNH back in May. But that had Biden at 52, Trump 48. Marist, back in January, had 52-45 in favor of Biden. St. Anselm's, that came out yesterday, has Biden at 42 and Trump at 44. So what does this mean? Well, obviously, the race is getting closer. I think a lot of people, including myself, after 2020, kind of assumed that Trump would not have much of a chance in 2024 in winning New Hampshire. And honestly, 2022 is kind of a good example of this as well, where a lot of Trump-aligned candidates got beat by 8, 9, some cases 10 points. It looked like Trump's brand of MAGA Republican in New Hampshire, it just, at the general election level, wasn't enough to win. There's enough MAGA to win the primary, or the Republican primary, no question, but it's not enough to win a general election. However, in this recent poll, Trump is up by 2 points. So how does it happen? Well, for one, look at the numbers. 44-42. Okay, there's a lot of undecided vote in this poll. Again, 4% for RFK. There is a lot of undecided votes in this poll. And in a state like New Hampshire, which 2016 was very close, 2020, in my opinion, was not, the state has kind of shown itself. There are a lot of independent voters and maybe moderate voters that when it comes down to voting between Trump and either a Democrat like Clinton or Biden, who will they choose? So far, they've chosen the Democrat over Biden both times. Now, maybe 2024 is different. Maybe Biden's popularity is so bad that if Trump stays consistent, that he may actually be able to get enough of a percentage of the vote to win. But even though there's only been 3 polls, and one of them's from back in January, the RCP average is Biden at 48.7, Trump to 45.7. And I'm going to show some past races that kind of show what New Hampshire looks like in terms of how much a Republican and Democrat on average end up getting. But it is just very interesting to me that it's clearly, I mean, you'd always rather be winning than losing. So for Trump, this poll is absolutely good news. And I agree with the executive director that New Hampshire does seem to be, at very least, more in play on the presidential level than I previously thought. But 44% to 42%, I'm not sure is the most encouraging sign that the Trump campaign would want it to be. A really encouraging sign would be what Biden had from UNH, where Biden was up 52 to 48. If Trump was up 52 to 48, that means he has enough votes to win, and he has to translate those numbers to election day. 44-42 to me says there are a lot of voters who are not happy with either choice, but Trump's base is more energetic and supportive to vote for him than Biden's base. Which, if we go back to the article, I'm going to find the section where it says that. Levesque mentions that. I need to find the exact quote. Yeah, here it is down here. 67% of people who describe themselves as very liberal are for Biden. And, of course, that's not enough to win as the nominee of the party for Biden to win. But Levesque also makes the point that that's a weak number, but in the end, a lot of those people will still go to the polls and likely end up voting for him reluctantly because they're not going to vote for Trump. And that 44%, I don't know if there's enough people in New Hampshire who don't like either candidate who will say, all right, I'll vote for Trump versus, all right, I'll vote for Biden, because a lot of people last time around in 2020 seem to have done that, and they broke heavily for Biden. Now, maybe this time it doesn't break as heavily for Biden. Maybe instead of being a 7-point race, it ends up being a 3 or a 4-point race in New Hampshire. Or maybe Trump's able to make it a very close race like in 2016 again. But one thing is two things are certainly going on here. One, both candidates are very unpopular in New Hampshire, and there are a lot of undecided voters who either don't know what they're going to do until Election Day, or they've made up their mind and they don't want to share it because they're not really happy with either option. Another one will be that Trump is probably going to get what he usually got in the state, 46, 45, 47 or so % of the vote. Trump is going to get around that margin. Biden, it all depends on how unpopular Biden is by Election Day. Because I could see Biden winning New Hampshire with 49% of the vote or 50% of the vote. If Biden shrinks down to what Hillary Clinton got in 2016, where she got around 46% or so, Trump is a real shot at winning this state, and Biden has a chance of losing it. I'm not sure if a 7-point swing is going to translate in actual real votes. In the polling data, it shows it has, but there's a lot of undecided vote. So for me, it's great news for Trump, but I need to see more solid data that shows this, because 44-42 is not enough to win a state like New Hampshire. It's good news for Trump. It's certainly better news than what it was, where he was down by 4 and down by 7 in the last two, but there's too much undecided votes to really get happy about it. The only good thing I can say is 1,700 registered voters. That's a pretty big sample size, and usually the bigger the sample size, the more accurate it is, because you're polling a bigger sample of people. So that's good news for Trump. But I think Trump needs to see the numbers get a little better. He needs to see Trump at 48, Biden at 42 or something to really feel confident that he may be able to win this state. What this says to me right now is this state's going to be competitive. It's going to be close, but Biden will probably eke out a narrow win because there are a lot of undecided or Democratic voters who don't like Biden but may end up voting for him anyway. But that being said, I've just gone over the poll and I've gone over the numbers. Now I want to go into, actually before I do that, let's look at the poll itself. I was looking on X earlier and I was seeing some comments, getting some just initial thoughts from people from New Hampshire. And one of the things I kept saying was, well, because of the 2022 polls that St. Anselm guessed a few of the Republicans to win in their polls, that they were inaccurate. This is actually not true. If you look back at the 2020 election, the final poll before Election Day had Biden at 52% and Trump at 44%. And on Election Day, Biden basically got 53% and Trump got, if you round up, 46%. So very, very close and pretty accurate in that poll. So at least it does have a precedent on a presidential election year of getting it correct. So I just want to point that out real quick. So I'm not sure, because if they were off in 2022, that means they'll be off in 2024. I just don't believe that's true. But I want to show the 2020 New Hampshire presidential results. 52.9% for Joe Biden, 45.5% for Donald Trump. And I have over here the map of New Hampshire as well. And so I just want to go county by county. And I also have the 2016 presidential election between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. See a much closer election. And I also have the most recent election, 2022, where Republican Governor Chris Sununu won re-election against Democrat Tom Sherman. I'm going to use this map as kind of like a case study of where has Sununu done well that Trump hasn't, where can they maybe look to find votes that may help swing it in Trump's direction. So 2020. First things first, A big percentage of the population of New Hampshire lives in these three counties in Rockingham, Hillsborough, and Merrimack. New Hampshire doesn't have many big cities or towns compared to a lot of other states, especially other states in New England, but towns like Manchester, Nashua, Concord, a lot of these and Portsmouth over here in Rockingham County, it's on the map, but there's Dover, but Portsmouth is like right in this area. These are like what you could consider the bigger cities in New Hampshire, and most of the population of the state lives in these three counties. There's a highway in New Hampshire that goes up through New Hampshire called I-93, and there's a term in politics called the I-93 corridor, where most of the people in New Hampshire live off that I-93 and off of the highway going up, and basically surrounding it. That's where most of the people in New Hampshire live. So these three counties, Rockingham, Hillsborough, and Merrimack, are the three biggest counties, I believe, population-wise. Keene is also out here, but it's not as big population as these three. So these three are very important counties for population terms. Historically, how it's been has been that Merrimack has been the most Democratic of the three counties. This is where the capital of the state, Concord, is, which usually votes very Democratic. And Hillsborough County, where Manchester and Nashua are, is seen as a more swinger county that could vote either Republican or Democrat, whereas Rockingham County is usually the more Republican of the three counties. And just to show you, in 2016, Hillary Clinton, remind you, did win the state of New Hampshire, but she won it by about 3,000 votes, a little under 3,000 votes. Trump was able to win Rockingham County by about 6 points or so. And in Hillsborough County, Trump was able to win it, but look at the margin here. What's that, 500 votes? By 0.2%? And again, look at the numbers. Look at the percentages here. 46.7, 46.5. And, well, look at the numbers of the state. 46.8, 46.5. Not too far off from what the total ended up being. Merrimack County, 48.1, 45. So it was actually very close. So you can see why Trump, in the three most important counties population-wise in the state, you can see why it was a close race, because all three of these counties were relatively close. Hillary won here by 3, Trump won here by 5 or 6, and he won here by 0.2. So then what happens? These three elections being like this keeps the election close. The Democrats are going to run up votes in Cheshire County, where Keene is, out here in Stratford County, where Dover is, and I believe a part of Portsmouth is in it as well. But that's where votes are going to rile up for Democrats, and up here in Grafton County. Grafton County is where the University of Dartmouth is. Or, I'm sorry, it might be Dartmouth College, excuse me. Dartmouth College, the Ivy League school, is up here in Grafton County. A lot of college students, I believe there's a few more colleges and universities up here as well, so a lot more Democratic counties. This is actually the most Democratic county in the state usually, in Grafton County. But the numbers aren't necessarily as big as Hillsborough, Merrimack, or Rockingham, just because of how many people live in these three counties. So Democrats will always rally up votes in these three counties: Stratford, Cheshire, and Grafton. The Republican areas, like a lot of other states, are Republican counties or swing counties, but they're smaller numbers. Coas County voted for Trump, but look at the numbers. Only 8,000 votes about to 6.5 thousand votes. Not that many people. Carroll County, 14,000 to about 13,000. Decent numbers, but again, not too big. Belknap County, 19,000, 13,000. Bigger for Trump, but again, not that big. Sullivan County, more of a swing county. Trump won it by about 500 votes. Not that big of a county in Sullivan. So I can't stress the importance enough for Trump and any Republican. Rockingham, Hillsborough, and Merrimack. Well, also for Democrats as well, but Rockingham, Hillsborough, and Merrimack are the three most important counties for population for trying to win the presidency. Because again, if you're a Republican, you have to win big enough in Rockingham and Hillsborough, and ideally, if you're doing really well, pick off Merrimack County to offset the votes coming from Grafton, Stratford, and Cheshire, which will always go Democrat. So this was 2016. Let me go back to 2020. Keep in mind everything I said about the bottom three counties. Look at the map. Voted 50.3 to 48.2, about 2 points for Biden. 53, 45.3 was 8 points or so for Biden. And again, about an 8-point win for Biden in this county. Look at the results. 52.9, 45.5. Not too far away from 8 points. So And Merrimack County, a 10-point win for Biden. So it's no surprise Trump lost New Hampshire. He lost the 3 most important counties in the state he needs to win. But I'm not at all saying that Hillsborough County predicts the winner of the race, because we saw Trump won it in 2016 and lost the state. But it does a pretty good job at coming close to predicting the outcome. 46.7 to 46.5. 46.8, 46.5, but it was flipped for Hillary. Now we go to 2020. 53 to 45.3, 52.9, you can't get much closer to 53 than that, and 45.3 for Trump. So, it could be a quirk, there could be nothing to it, but I think on election day, keep an eye on what Hillsborough County is doing. Because given how many people are in this county, again, look at the numbers here. A lot of people live in this county, a lot of people live in Rockingham, a lot of people live in Merrimack, but by far, Hillsborough and Rockingham by population are definitely bigger. Keep an eye on what Hillsborough is voting at. Because if Hillsborough is at 53-45 for Biden again, you can pretty much call the state that Biden's going to win it. If Trump is winning Hillsborough, then I think Trump is at very least still in play. But Trump won it by 46.7. That's not enough. He won by 0.2%. That's not enough to win. And this is when I go to Governor Sununu's election. He won it by about 17 points, 17 points he won it. And how did he win the election by? By about 16 points. I'm telling you. However, Hillsborough County votes seems to be a little bit of a correlation there of how the rest of the state may be voting. It could totally break in 2024. My kind of observation about New Hampshire may be totally shattered in 2024. But keep an eye, because Hillsborough's total and the state total is not going to be far off. I can promise you that. So, Governor Sununu did much better in Hillsborough. Remember, Trump lost Rockingham County by 2 points. Governor Sununu won it by about almost 20, or a little over 20. Merrimack County. Governor Sununu won this county. Trump lost it by 10 points, I believe, to Biden. And Sununu won it by 11 points. Look, let's be, in all fairness to Trump, he will not be able to do what Governor Sununu did in New Hampshire. This is a Republican incumbent with very good popularity numbers. Trump will not be able to do this. But these 3 counties, if they can all vote for Trump, Trump will win the state of New Hampshire. Because, look, Dover, Stratford County, this will go blue on 2024, I have no doubt. Grafton will go blue. It was very close, though. Only 2 points. This won't happen on election day. The Democrat only got 41%. This will go a lot more blue for Biden. And Cheshire County, very close. Again, will go more blue for Biden. But if Trump is able to win Rockingham, Hillsborough, and Merrimack, I am very confident Trump will win this election. But again, we got to go back to 2020. Can Trump flip Rockingham, Hillsborough, and Merrimack, given the current state of 2024 in a presidential election year? Because again, that happened in a midterm election year where Sununu won by big and he was an incumbent. Because I would say, no, Biden won by almost 8 points. There's no way Trump can, flip the state 8-9 points and be able to win it. 2016 is a little bit of hope I have for Republicans in New Hampshire, is Trump came very close to winning the state. Very, very close. He did what he had to do in Rockingham. He won Hillsborough, but Trump had to win Hillsborough by a few more points. If Trump was able to win Hillsborough 48 to 45, he would have won the state of New Hampshire. He needs to do better in Hillsborough County. He did what he had to in Rockingham. He made it close in Merrimack. If he could win Hillsborough by 2 or 3%, I think Trump will have enough to win the state of New Hampshire. The only problem is, again, going back to the poll, 46.8 to 46.5. That's what Hillary Clinton got in 2016. Joe Biden got 52.9% in 2020. Trump got 45.5 in 2020, and he got 46.5 in 2016. So the highest percentage he's gotten in the state is about 46.5%. For this state to go red, Trump is going to have to get up to about 47.5%, and Biden's going to have to fall to a similar number. Biden's going to have to perform more like Hillary Clinton than like Joe Biden in 2020. It's not impossible. Joe Biden's approval ratings are definitely really bad right now and are falling. And the poll, going back to the St. Anselm poll I mentioned at the beginning, 69% of very liberal voters are not enthusiastic about voting for Biden. I think a lot of them will end up turning out for Biden, but let's say I'm wrong and they don't. Is that enough of a swing for Biden's percentages to go from 53% down to 46%? It might be, it might not be, but it's certainly something to at very least keep an eye on. At this point, I think New Hampshire, with all due respect to Trump, I'm sure he wants to win the state. It is not a super important state to him trying to become elected president again. As I go back to the map, again, Trump needs, in my opinion, the best way for him to win re-election, win Arizona, win Pennsylvania, and he's president again. Or, at very least, win Georgia, win Arizona, and then win one of the 3 Rust Belt states, and he's president again. If Trump is putting New Hampshire in play and even can flip New Hampshire, I think at that point Trump is having a tremendous night, and that's just icing on top of the cake. Because if Trump is winning New Hampshire, then I'm pretty much 100% sure Nevada's going red, Wisconsin's going red, Michigan's going red, and Pennsylvania's going red. And seeing that, again, Biden won 53-45 in New Hampshire. If Trump's winning New Hampshire, it's not inconceivable that Minnesota and Virginia might be in play. And New Mexico, I don't think will go red, but the margins may go down to likely. It's not super hard to believe that this could happen. But again, I would just say, temper your expectations for now. Because for Biden to lose New Hampshire, he would have to swing the election by about down 9 points. Which, it can happen, especially if he has a terrible night. It absolutely can happen. But New Hampshire going red is something I think Trump would love to see, but I think he needs to see a lot more data come in before he starts actively campaigning to try to win the state. Because, no disrespect to New Hampshire and its 4 electoral votes, Michigan's 15, Pennsylvania's 19, and Wisconsin's 10 are a lot more important mathematically for Trump when becoming president again. If Trump is going to focus a lot of his time, it should be on these 3 states, and then Georgia as well, because of its importance with 16, then New Hampshire. But if Trump is doing so well in these states that he has time, maybe he does a rally in Pennsylvania, then goes up to New Hampshire, and then goes to Michigan or something, by all means. New Hampshire, at very least, seems to be more in play than it was a few weeks ago. And the polls, at very least, are getting closer, which is something Trump definitely wants to see, especially in a state that was not initially thought of being a state that he could win. It was a likely Democratic state that if Trump is having a great night, he may be able to win. And now, him having a great night and winning the state of New Hampshire, I'm still not saying it's going to happen, but it's at very least a lot more likely than it was a few days ago. So that is going to do it for my video today. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, please like the video, hit the thumbs up button, and subscribe to my channel if you have not yet done so, if you want to see more videos like this from me in the future. Alright, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in a future video.